Now, Reform's Welsh conference is taking place in Newport today, with Nigel Farage expected to take to the stage.
Yes, he's back from Mar-a-Lago after Donald Trump, his pal, won that victory in the US election.
Well, we're joined now by GBNews political correspondent Adam Cherry, who's in Newport for us. Morning, Adam.
Morning, guys. Yeah, we're here in Newport for the Reform Wales conference. It kicks off at 11 o'clock this morning. And the man who is kicking things off, who's giving his first speech to the members, is with us now. It's Reform's Chief Whip, Lee Anderson. Lee, thanks for joining us on GB News. What are you going to tell members at 11 o'clock? What can they expect?
Well, you have to wait and see, young man, to see what we say at 11 o'clock. It's a secret at the moment. Well, to be honest, I've not written my speech yet. But no, this is a message about hope. Hope from the Reform Rescue Party. This country is in need of rescuing from the dreadful Labour Party that's been in control. We've seen that the last election, even though the Labour Party increased the number of seats they've got here and kicked the Tories out of Wales, the actual vote share went down by about 4%. So, you know, I was speaking to people in the pubs last night in Newport. They're absolutely fed up to the back teeth of this Labour government. They're fed up with the Labour government in Westminster as well. They need change, they need reform, and that's why we're here today to kickstart our campaign ready for the Senate elections in 2 years' time.
Yes, you mentioned those Senate elections. They're under PR. Does that change how you campaign, how you feel about this election?
Well, what it does, it changes the outcome. That's what it does. We're going to campaign really, really hard. We know in this, especially in this area, this neck of the woods in South Wales, it's very similar to the Red Wall where I represent. There's lots of disenchanted working class people, ex-coal miners, ex-steel workers. We've seen what's happening at Port Talbot. They've had enough. They're fed up to death of this government. Now they've lost their jobs. They're losing their sense of community. They're losing their sense of hope, and they see reform as a proper alternative.
What about Plaid Cymru? Because they're at second place in polling at the moment. You're overtaking the Tories, fine, but what about Plaid in second?
Well, we've got to pick them off one by one. We've gone for the Tories. We've picked lots of Conservative votes, not just in Wales, but all over the country. We've started eating into the Labour vote. We'll probably do the same in Scotland as well. And Plaid Cymru, yes, we're going for them as well. Nobody's safe. They need to be looking over their shoulders, young man, at every opportunity.
Right. And obviously, Nigel Farage coming back from America. US election result, Donald Trump in. What do you make of that? Is that good for Britain, do you think?
I think it is good for Britain. Obviously, people, all these idiots, these lefties are whinging now. They're crying into the cornflakes, oh, Donald's going to do this, he's going to do that. Look, he's got great affection for this country. It doesn't help when you've got idiots like David Lammy spouting off all the time, these lunatics in Parliament. They need to eat a little bit of humble pie, although I think Lammy's probably ate too much pie over the past few months. Look, we need to have a proper relationship, and Nigel's quite right. We need to roll the red carpet out for Donald Trump and do some business with him.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear more from you later this morning on that and very much else. So thank you very much. We'll see you later on, guys, and back to you.
Okay, Adam, thanks very much indeed. Well, it all sort of leads on to our poll of the day today. We're asking, should Nigel Farage help Keir Starmer build bridges with Donald Trump? Because it looks like we may well need some help with that.
Yes.
Anyway, the results so far, yes, he should help, 35%. He shouldn't help, 62%. 3% don't know.
We'll bring you the live results throughout the day, so make sure you stay tuned. The final results will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show.
Some breaking news overnight. There was a Reform UK council win. So Nigel Farage, very clear that their target for the next year or so is to really smash those local council elections next year. There was a by-election in Marsh Will in Wyre County Council last night, Borough Council, sorry, where Reform won with 38.6% of the vote, overturning a Labour majority who lost 15 points, Labour. They were down 15%. The Conservatives were down 27%, and Reform won the seat with 38.6% of the vote. So Reform gained from the Tories.
Yeah. Well, listen, well, Susie sent a message in with regard to Nigel and Reform, and she said Nigel doesn't need to help Starmer. Why should he? Let Starmer and crew carry on making their own mistakes, as they have been. I'm just waiting for them to implode. That's what's going on. But with regards to all of that, in terms of Wales, Reform's Welsh conference is taking place in Newport today.
Yes, and ahead of that, Nigel Farage's speech a bit later on, the Reform UK leader said his party will target the 2026 Senate election.
He flew back from Mar-a-Lago, especially after his friend Donald Trump won an undeniable victory in the United States.
Adam Cherry is on the ground in Wales now. Adam, it's been a long old week for Nigel, hasn't it? At Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach in Florida, back to the UK, did his show last night, and now this big Welsh conference.
That's it, yeah, very, very busy week for him. You can see behind us, they're just setting up for the Reform Wales Conference. It's going to kick off in about an hour's time. I'm joined now by Reform's only member of the London Assembly. This is Alex Wilson. Alex, thanks for joining us on GB News. We're quite away from London. What are you doing here in Wales today?
Well, it's fantastic to be here in Wales, in Newport, for the launch of our Welsh conference, which I'll be speaking at later on. But I've come straight from London, where yesterday had a very interesting meeting, the London Assembly, and I'm sure that's what we're going to talk about in a minute.
What happened there? What did they tell you? What did you say to them?
Well, so one of the things was the Labour Party put forward a motion where they wanted the taxpayer to pay for free travel across London for asylum seekers and illegal migrants. So this was something that was supported by the Labour Party, by the Liberal Democrats and the Greens. The Tories, they abstained. They took the coward's way out. They didn't even engage in the discussion. They didn't want to talk about it. So I was the only voice of reason standing up for hard-working British taxpayers, the only voice of reason on that assembly. I spoke against, I voted against, and the response I've had since then has been phenomenal. I had lots of people across London getting in touch with me saying thank you for being the voice that we elected you to do. They elected me to break the cosy consensus, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Is that enough? Because here in Wales, as in London, you would say they're traditional Labour strongholds. So you have some support there, but is that going to be enough to turn into votes, particularly here in Wales, which is voted Labour for a very long time?
In Wales, we've got a fantastic opportunity with the Senate elections in 2026, elected by proportional representation, as the London Assembly is, which is how I got a position earlier in May earlier this year. But no, in a year and a half's time, these elections are absolutely crucial for us as a party. The polling is putting us in a very strong position. We could win 18 to 20 seats. We could really form the balance of power, potentially even becoming the official opposition. The Tories are going to come fourth. We're definitely going to come third. We're really challenging for positions here and very much looking forward to those elections, and that's why I'm here to support the campaign here in Newport.
So is that the intention here? Is more to become the opposition? You're not looking to win outright here. You just want to put pressure on Labour?
We want to get at every level of government, whether that's in Parliament, whether that's in the Senate, in London, in Scotland, in the Holyrood elections, which are at the same time as the Senate in 2026, and in local councils right up and down the country next year. We're looking to get as strong a voice as possible because there are people out there that need their voice to be heard. We are offering something different from all the main parties. The Conservatives have really let Britain down. We know that from how they behaved in government, and we're seeing that now how they're behaving in opposition. They're not providing the real challenge, the real opposition to Labour. That's what Reform is doing, and that's what we're looking to capitalise on.
Alex, thank you very much for joining us here on GB News. I'm sure we'll hear from you later. Guys, the main speeches will kick off in about an hour, as I said, and Nigel Farage will be speaking to members in about 5 o'clock. So much to happen still here later on today, and we'll be speaking to you later throughout the show.
All right,
Thanks, Adam.
Lovely to talk to you. That's Adam Cherry.
Well, I wonder if Reform are buoyed by what we saw in the US this week. You have to imagine they would have sat there watching the results. Well, Farage, of course, was at Mar-a-Lago, but you must have thought they'd been watching all that kicking off and thinking, yeah, things are looking good for us in the UK over the next coming years.
Well, especially, you know, with the relationship with Nigel Farage and Donald Trump in particular, if you look at the state of things with Keir Starmer and, of course, David Lammy coming out with those ridiculous comments, even though it was in 2018, I think, as well, or 2017 or whatever, it's still, you know, he's still an elected official. And I think politicians need to think seriously about some of the language that they use when referring to other politicians. I fancy calling someone a neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath. I mean, it's just, that's not in my vocabulary to even say that to anybody ever. And for somebody who's been elected in high office to be doing that.
Yeah, it's just so exaggerated. I mean, I was thinking, though, do you think the likes of Lammy and Angela Rayner said all these comments because they thought they would never make it to power, Labour, or that Trump would never return? Which was it? I think it had to be one of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have said it.
Well, I just think it's a level of arrogance, actually, because, of course, we had Angela Rayner saying things about Trump as well. But you've also had Angela Rayner having the rant towards members of the Tory party, calling them scum, homophobic, Etonian banana republic, and all that. And I just think that politicians need to consider that your language is recorded in whatever you say and whatever you do, especially if you're insulting or criticising someone, and that will come back and haunt you.
Especially calling someone a Nazi. I mean, what an insult to actual victims of the Holocaust. And even today, Jews getting chased around Amsterdam. You know, what an insult.
I mean, it's not even true, is it? How can you call... I mean, it's just ridiculous. David Lammy, in fact, on one of the stations earlier, they were saying that he should apologise, and I think he should.
Maybe, in his defence, maybe he has in private. He had dinner with Donald Trump a few months back. Maybe something happened in private, we don't know. But
still.
Yeah.